Welcome everyone to the International Research Seminar Series. This is the session 7 on how to create impactful case studies. We have Professor Sandeep Puri with us. I'll call on Professor Preeta to speak a bit about the research seminar series, and then I'll go ahead and introduce Professor Puri.
Thank you so much, Sasi. This is our 7th, in our long journey of deciding and wanting to conduct a research seminar series which has international research speakers. This is the 7th such session, and I'm Preeta Menon. I am the head of the Department of Media and Journalism at Flame School of Communication, and I'm also a faculty of advertising and branding here. Thank you so much, and a warm welcome to all of you who have joined in today to be part of this session. Today's session is a very important session because we have got one of the best people in the space of case writing, Professor Sandeep Puri. He will be talking to us about impactful cases, how we can create them, and how the whole craft of doing this. So this is going to be our session for today. The idea of IRSS, or the International Research Seminar Series, came through because we were looking at how we can collaborate with international scholars, how we can provide a platform for early career researchers and scholars who would like to learn from them, who probably have no other access to these professors and experts in areas. And to be able to do this, we have divided the thought leadership into 3 areas. The first area is contemporary issues in marketing and communications. And we have had speakers in the past speaking about these contemporary issues like technology and consumer behavior, neuroscience. We have been talking about retailing and so on and so forth. We have another track. This track is on research methods. Within this research methods track, we have had speakers like Professor Justin. These people are not just speakers, but also editors of A-star journals. So, they come to you not only with their own expertise in the area, but also tell you what works and what doesn't work in terms of a publication. So we've had, sessions on literature review methods. We have had a session on experimental design, on qualitative research, and today within this track on research methods is case study, because case study is yet another very different approach to conducting research and also narrating this research to an audience. So our track today is therefore pivotal in understanding this process and the methods of conducting and producing case-based research. Apart from this, we also have in the next coming months, we are going to see more eminent speakers in these 2 areas. And finally, last but not the least, the industry, partners who are in research. So we'd like to also look at industry-led research. In the past, we had Vivek Balraman, who is from TCS Research and Innovations. He had come and spoken to us about what they do best there and how we can bridge gaps between academia and industry using, common goals and themes that both industry and academia can work together with. Going forward, we'd also bring more people in this space of industry-led research. So these are the main 3 themes that, this particular research conference or seminar series is focusing on. With this, I'd like to kind of, step back and open up the stage to Sasi, who will now introduce Sandeep, and then over to you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to introduce Professor Sandeep. Professor Sandeep has more than 27 years of experience in industry and teaching, and specializes in sales and marketing. Currently, he's a professor of marketing at the Asian Institute of Management, Philippines. Before this, he has worked at IMT Ghaziabad, Trident, and Novartis in India. He has significant publications to his credit, with 2 publications in Harvard Business Review. He has more than 80 case study publications with Ivey Publishing, WDI Publishing from the University of Michigan, and IMT Lausanne. And he has also published articles and research papers in magazines, newspapers, and international journals. His recent article was published in the European Journal of Marketing. His book on sales and distribution management co-authored with Still, Cundiff, and Govoni, is published with Pearson. He's also edited 10 books. He's a visiting faculty at many prestigious business schools like SPJ in Singapore, Varna University of Management, Bulgaria, IMT Dubai, IIM Visakhapatnam, Great Lakes, and Jagdish Sheth School of Management in India. And Professor Puri has conducted many FDPs on case writing and case teaching. So over to you, Professor Puri. We are looking forward to your presentation. And just a small, announcement about the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please do put them in the Q&A box. You can put them in as the talk is going on, and we'll take the questions maybe in the middle of the session once, but we'll have a comprehensive Q&A towards the end. But you're free to put in your questions at any point during the talk. Yeah, over to you, Professor Puri. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ravi. Thanks a lot, Preetha, for inviting me. I have my ex-colleague Chetna also, I think, in the from
Exactly. I wanted to say that, Chetna was the one who started this ball rolling. And thank you, Chetna, for, bringing such an eminent personality in the space of case study here.
Yes, I think I missed writing a case study with Chetna because I think by the time she was settling at IMT Ghaziabad, it was time for me to say goodbye. So, but I hope we can do it now. Okay, so thanks again, Preetha, for inviting me. So good afternoon, everyone. Philippines is a beautiful country. That's what I was telling to Sasi and Preetha before the start of the session, right? This is the Palawan beach, which is also mentioned even in the first edition of Money Heist, right? So once the things are better, you can surely come and visit this place. It's a beautiful country. Okay, so the topic today is how to create impactful case studies. And this is going to be my agenda for the next 1.5 hours. I will just have a few things about my journey, and then what is going to be a good case study. Then I have taken a few examples of 3 of my case studies, right? What is the content of those case studies? What are the questions in those case studies? And then we'll get into writing and publishing case studies. So I'll just give you some of the inputs from my side, which I follow when I'm writing a case study. Something about teaching notes, and then finally, as Sasi just mentioned, we can go ahead with the question and answers. In case you feel that there is a question which you want me to answer in between, you can, I think, just type in the chat box, and Prof Sasi can tell me, and then we can go ahead. Okay, Sasi has already gave a very kind introduction for me, but this is how typically I introduce myself. This is my way of introducing myself. This is me and the 4 pillars of my life. My father is no longer there, but whatever I am today, I'm because of my father, my wife, and my 2 kids. My daughter is studying at Rotterdam, Erasmus University, and then my son is working with Sony Pictures. Chetna knows well that he is into movie marketing. So, as Prof Sasi just mentioned, I have around 27 years of work experience. I started my career with Novartis, then Trident, and the last 12 years I'm into teaching. I'm also alumni of IMT Ghaziabad, and I also worked there for around 9 years. But last 4 years, I'm here at DI. I was a visiting scholar at Georgia Tech. I've also done a program at Kellogg in the good old days, plus master teacher program from ISB Hyderabad. So I have around, I think now at this point in time, around 76 cases listed with Harvard Business Publishing and Ivey Publishing. Okay, so I have 2 publications with Harvard Business Review. I have a jury member for L'Oreal Brandstorm competition. So I typically select 2 professors to be part of the competition at Paris. In case I'm not teaching or I'm not studying, I typically am watching a movie. These are 2 of my favorite movies, and these are 2 of my favorite books. I teach CRM, so customer management is a special book for me. And I keep on saying to people that in case you want to be effective managers, just read the book 1 Minute Manager. Started my career with Novartis, so Switzerland is always a dream destination for retirement. Let's see. I'm a typical North Indian guy, even if I'm here in the Philippines. I love to have tandoori chicken, matar paneer, and beer is my favorite drink. And I love music. Right? And this is a fun. mantra of my life, that God has given us two hands. One is for helping ourselves and the other is for helping others. So I typically try to follow this whenever possible. These are the 4 people I typically say thanks whenever I'm introducing myself. I'm into academics because of Dr. B.S. Sahai, who is right now Director of IMT Jammu. So he gave me a job. I was not having even PhD, but yes, I was alumni of IMT Ghaziabad 13 years ago. Professor Pravinder Arora, he was my professor at IMT, and he introduced me that, okay, Sandeep, teaching can be a good career for you. Professor Ajay Kohli, right? He's someone who guided me a lot. I think I always consider him as a mentor for me. And Prof. Jayanti Ranjan, I don't know how many people know her. I think Sandeep Solanki surely knows her well. She's someone, this is going to be, I'm just talking about my journey. When I started my academic journey, I was from industry. So I was not really good into writing research papers. So I used to go to many people to help me to write a research paper. But unfortunately, everyone said either no, or a polite way to say that you go to library, read some journals, and then you find out what you want to write, this and that. But she's someone who holded my hand in those days, and she helped me to at least write something. So I'm always grateful to these 4 people for their role in my, especially my academic career. Right. So right now I'm having around 76 case studies, which are listed with Harvard Business Publishing, and this is happening over a period of last, I think, 9 or 10 years. Right. I also have 6 cases with University of Michigan, which is WDI Publishing. Right. And these are my 2 favorite HBR covers because I have my publications in them. And I'm going to have another one shortly. So I'm just waiting for it. Okay, so let's get into our main topic, which is case study. Okay, so in case someone asks me, what is a case study? Then I typically tell them that it's a description of a situation someone in the company is facing, right? So I think when you're going to start writing your case studies, you have to think about a situation, not like a research paper. That's going to be one differentiator. Right, so good cases, they typically let participants put themselves in the shoes of the decision maker, right? And that's how you have a very good discussion in the class. So you can use case studies to test the understanding of theory, right? So you can check about Porter 5 forces or BCG metrics, or for that matter, even business model canvas, whatever you want to cover into it. Plus, I think this can also help your student to get practical insights or wisdom looking at corporate experiences. A few more things about how you can think about a good case study. First of all, that's why I'm using a different color combination here, unique dilemma or a tension point. Right? We're going to discuss more about it because typically, yesterday only I got a call from a professor at Norsimonji in Mumbai. He was saying that he wants to write a case study on a successful digital transformation of a company. I said that no, this cannot be a case study topic because someone who has done something is not a case study topic because there is no dilemma here now, right? So maybe you have to talk about a dilemma or a tension point. Again, today we in my college here we were having a presentation by a professor with an MBA from Stern, New York Stern College of Business, but unfortunately he selected a very old topic. He selected a case study way back of 1990 to make a presentation, and I think his presentation went for a toss after that. Case studies, when you're submitting it, it should be contemporary, right? Relevant with covering important issues. Yes, finance case studies is something which can even have a background of maybe of the last 5 years, something like this. But otherwise, for marketing, strategy, and other courses, you may have to go for a case study which is contemporary. Okay, maybe you have to you have to introduce a tension between different alternative courses of actions. I'm going to share some examples shortly in that case. In addition, this is going to highlight viewpoints from different perspectives. It is not like this that you're guiding students to come to a particular solution or something like this, right? So there has to be totally neutral alternatives on the picture. I typically go for 1 or 2 core issues which are complex, right, and enough to different things. But I don't like to go for case studies which are having too many things happening at the same time. Right? I know there are people who have written, what is happening in today's world. With the online classes, I think the case studies which are having less than 15 pages, they are preferred. So in that case, with exhibits, with all these footnotes, 15 pages itself, I think I will say is a good amount of, it's a lengthy case study, but more than 15 pages case study sometimes do get into too many other things. So difficult to, write a teaching note also in that case. Okay, so ambiguity, yes, it has to be there so you can generate multiple options. But again, you should not get into specificity in that case. But yes, finance case studies again can have some specific set of things come into picture. Few more points when you can think about what makes a good case study. So first of all, it should have a compelling storyline with a clear teaching objective. When someone approached me that, okay, if we can work together, my first thing to them is, can you send me a 1-page draft with 5 questions? Right. So I typically ask them to send me maybe 2 paragraphs about what the case is all about, what is going to be a unique dilemma, and what are going to be the 4 or 5 questions you are thinking students will answer with this case study. Right? Sustained discussion. Right? In case you have the answers are obvious, you cannot have a case discussion over a period of 80 minutes. Right? So you have to make it sure that you have enough meat in that case. In addition, I think if you can have a very good case which can present a puzzle that lingers over a period of time, right? It can be something which can really help. Yesterday, I was having a leadership program with a major cement company here in the Philippines, and we were discussing my HBR case study about star salesperson. 3 hours, right? 3 hours, we could not finish the things. And even after this, I got emails that, this could have been the thing which could have been done here. So again, coming back to the things like data to tackle, right? Not to solve the problem unless and until you are giving a finance case study. Well structured, easy to read, without grammatical mistakes. That is another important point which is to be there. And these are some basics which you have to keep in place when you're thinking about a case study. So I'm just sharing some examples of my case studies, what is the content in their cases. So this was my first consulting project in Cambodia. I think I went there just 2 months prior to the pandemic. So what's the content of this case study, right? So this case study is first of all covering points like this. So I'm having a company background where I'm discussing about sales and marketing of this company, distribution and promotion, future international expansion plans, because I have another case study on this company, which is about this company moving into Myanmar, right? Then I'm coming to Serva Pharma, Cambodia per se, right? And in this case, we're talking about the marketing unit of the company, which is having, this company is having low profitability from the marketing unit, but overall the company is having a very good profitability. Then this case is having an issue with John Tayang, who is the country head. Then there's an issue about this whole person, that whether he's the right leader or not. Okay? So there's information about his background and other things. In this case, we have everything is original in this case study except the name, because we didn't want to put the name of the real person. It may not be a good idea in that case. So we just change the name of the person in this case, right? Then we're talking about the pharmaceutical industry in Cambodia. Why? Because this case is all about whether the company should fight or fold their operations in the Cambodian market. So unless and until the students know about that, okay, Cambodia market is market which is growing. It is a market which is going to do well in the future, right? So when you have that type of premise, it makes your decision a little bit difficult. It's a tricky situation in that case. And then we are also discussing about the other challenges, except this country head with this company change is facing in that case. Right. So these are the 5 questions. Right. So in this case, I think if you look at here, there is no question which is talking about a theory directly. But in case you look at question number 2, in this case, I have used GE matrix, to select the product portfolio. So we're discussing that all what are possible 9 strategies according to GE matrix that can be used in this case study, right? First question, again, I keep on using it in many consulting assignments. So what's happening here? This sales leader is surely having an issue there. But then we're looking into it. What are the problems? What are the implications? And if you read the teaching note, I really feel proud of this particular case study with question number 1, right? Question number 3 from that perspective. Then this company is considering several actions, right? They have an offer from another company to take care of their marketing unit, right? So they are considering 7 or 8 alternatives. Now this case is all about what is going to be my alternative number 1, right? So in this case, we are talking about that you should go for those things where you have high returns but low investments and low risk. So this is we have used this particular framework while covering the answer to this question number 3, right? Then we're talking about how should serve a modified strategy, and then what are the other strategies. Second is about it's a company in India, right? Ajanta Packaging. So this is about key account management at Ajanta Packaging. So this case study is having a content like this, right? So we are having the company background, but all these cases are starting. The first paragraph is all about a dilemma. And so this company is supplying glass bottles to Patanjali, to Viva, many other companies, right? So this case is about, again, Indian packaging industry, glass bottle industry, the challenges of the glass bottle industry. And then we are coming back to the main issue, right, which is key account management at Ajanta. And then who are the key accounts of Ajanta Packaging. Then we have SF Foods. Again, we have changed the name of the company here because they don't want to bring the real name of the company here. So it's all about that there's a key account which is giving them around 20% of the revenue of the company. But this key account is just like, trying to squeeze the margin of this company. They are offering them very low profit orders. They ask for quick deliveries and they delay the payment. So everything is going into the wrong direction altogether. So what should I do when I have 20% of business coming from one company and that company is taking me for a ride? Okay, so this case study is all about this. So now, in case you look at this case study, the first question, right? Again, it is just to, I will say it's more of an ice-breaking question, which a professor can use for the first 5 or 10 minutes to discuss about the glass bottle industry, right? And then because I use this case study for my CRM courses, I get into the whole thing about why CRM for Ajanta, what are going to be the direct or indirect impacts, right? What are the possible ways of segmenting? I must say that this looks very easy as a question here. Sorry, I'm having cough, so I've taken an anti-allergic and I think I'm having dryness of mouth now. Okay, so the beauty of this question number 3 is whenever I ask students about this question, students have a mentality that, okay, they will say, they will do demographic segmentation, they will do geographic segmentation, psychographic segmentation. Then my question to them is, okay, tell me something about the demographics of Patanjali. Right, so this is a different thing altogether here that it's a B2B segmentation we are talking about, but in the initial stages, students do get wrong. Then what is key account management, the different strategy they can use, how did the relationship involved, right? I think the whole case study is about question number 7. So typically here in the teaching note, I prefer to go for 3 alternatives. One thing is maintain the status quo. 20% business is coming from this company. Let's go ahead and continue with it. Second thing is renegotiate. Third alternative is totally stop business with this company. So I spent lots of my time in question number 7, but yes, in this case, all these questions are especially planned to cover some of the sessions in a customer management course. Okay, this is my last HBR publication, which was in 2019. So this is a disguised case, right? When I submitted to HBR, I submitted them the original case. But HBR typically it's yeah, you change the name of the company and all the people involved here, right? And the good thing is the new HBR cases in the last 4 years, they have lots of animations. It make it easy to read, right? It's more like reading a chapter of a novel in that case. Special thing about this case study is I use liberty to select these names, which are very close to my heart. Siddhant is actually the name of my son. Shraddha is my daughter. Bhavna is my wife. And Uday is my boss, who is also in, I think he's in Pune only, working for Novartis. He used to be my boss, right? So I have used these names from that perspective. Okay, so this is a disguised case study. I think it's freely available online. No need to pay for it. So I work for Novartis. Novartis before its merger. Novartis is actually a merger of Ciba-Geigy and Sandoz. So I use this name as Nova Sib, right? So Ciba-Geigy ka Sib and Novartis ka Nova. Now, what I want to emphasize for HBR cases, first of all, publishing in HBR is not easy because of one single thing. That single thing is they ask for a unique dilemma. So in this case, when we did a research, when we sent this case study to a few people that, okay, whether you're going to fire the salesperson or you're going to retain the salesperson. 54% wanted to fire the salesperson, 46% wanted to retain the salesperson. Now, this is the beauty of this case, that there is no clear-cut answer here. And because I was just giving an example that yesterday, we spent more than 3 hours on this case study, and still people were asking questions after it. Now, when 54% of your class is saying, we will go for this decision, 46% is saying we'll go for this decision, right? You can have very good discussion. And in case you remember my first slide, this is also one of my bestseller on Harvard Business Publishing. Right now, typically HBR case studies, they don't have any questions, but when I'm using, I typically use it for my sales course. I also use it for my systematic managerial analysis. We have a course like this here, which I do for all these executive programs. So I typically ask these questions, define the problem in this case, and suggest the possible causes, right? Should Uday get a second chance, identify alternative courses of action, right? And suggest a possible solution. Or what systems can be implemented by the company to avoid something like this in future in that case, right? So let's get into a case setting process. Sasi, any questions so far?
So far, we didn't have any questions directly pertaining to the talk. There were a few other questions related to logistics. We kind of answered them. Yeah, but yeah, I think, yeah, yes, Preeta.
Yeah, I have one question that I thought I'd bring right here because I'm looking at all the interesting work that you're doing. So, you know, for management teachers or professors who are teaching cases in class and using cases as a method of teaching, is it, Sandeep, a better idea to write their own cases because there's that much more involvement with the company that you're writing a case for, and you know, you have those many more insights into what has happened behind the scene apart from what's in the case? Or are there just enough cases around that you don't need to write any new cases? So
good question, Preeta. I think the reason for me having such a large number of cases is this only, that for example, I give you this example of Ajanta packaging case study. So when I was teaching that key account management course, I felt that there is no contemporary case on this particular topic. So let me get into it, and maybe I can work on something. So typically, yes, one of my strategy when I write case studies is, in case I don't find a good case for a particular session, I develop a case on that particular topic. So, but otherwise, for example, I'm taking a course of marketing management, 20 sessions. And typically here at AIM, we use around 75 of our courses are made of case studies. So in my 20 session course, I'm using 15 case studies. 7 or 8 are written by me, but 7 or 8 by other authors, because I just want to bring that diversity also, that, you know, I may not be good in writing case study on a particular topic. If someone has a better case study, I go for those cases. But yes, one of my reason that I write a particular case is I look at the gaps in my course outlines. That is, if I can have. But I fully agree with you, Preetha. The best thing which happened with me, at least with the case study, is I lived that case study for 9 months. I sleep on that case study for 9 months, right? So even if you ask something me about my case study which I've written 5 years ago, I can tell you that even now I can have an 80% recall about all those cases. So as a teacher, the amount of time which I need to prepare for my own cases is much more less as compared to when I'm preparing a case, case analysis of some other cases. So that's always an advantage.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it kind of answered both, both parts of it. Thank you.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions maybe that have just come in now. So one is about companies not giving permissions to write cases on, using their name. So Dr. Snehal was asking, how does one go about, addressing that?
Okay, so you're talking about the last question, permission?
Yeah, the last question. Yeah, the permission.
Okay, so I'll do one thing, maybe this is going to something which I'm going to cover over a period of time.
Okay.
Right. So I will answer these questions. Maybe some of your questions are going to be answered shortly in that case.
Okay, great.
Right. Thanks, Asi. Okay, this is a framework which you can have in mind, that how, in case you are following a process, then for me, everything starts with an idea. That idea can come from a newspaper. That idea can come from a discussion with an alumni or an industry expert, right? And then I get into the planning part. That what I need to cover in this case study, what material I require, right? What data points I need to have in this case study. Then I get into writing, right? I typically try my case studies in my classes before going for a submission. And if it's required, I review it. And finally, I go for the publishing process. That's how typically I approach. So now coming back to the idea generation, right? So you can surely identify case leads through newspapers. I keep on saying to many participants that if you want to write a case study, you don't have industry contacts. For example, Sasi just asked about a question about permissions. There are many cases which can be written on the basis of secondary sources. My recent case publication is on Philips India. It's published with Neha Srivastava from NITI. Right, so this case study is on the basis of secondary sources. You can try this method also in the initial stages, but we'll come down to all those things, right? So newspapers, Economic Times can be a big help for you to write the case studies, right? Second thing is even from online sources, you can find something which is, think about a topic which is you are passionate about. I wrote a case study on Dove. So it came out a picture from our class discussions. So I think it was way back in 2013 that in the first year MBA program, there was a group of students. I asked them to do a project on launch of innovative products or launch of new products by any player. So they made a project on the possibility of Dove coming up with baby range of products. 2013, I'm asking about it, right? So that was a good idea. So we converted that thing into a case study, and it's published. I must say that Dove launched their baby care products, I think in 2017 or 2018. So my students of IMT Ghaziabad 4 years ahead of the brand managers of Dove in terms of thinking about this possible brand extension. Most of my case studies, which are having primary sources, they are based on interviews. In fact, my last HBR case study was also based on an interview which I had, and then I converted into a case study. And then many times even observations from things happening around. Second thing is going to be, once you have shortlisted 2 or 3 topics, now you have to collect enough information. Many times it has happened with me that I found a good topic, but I could not have enough information to write a case study on it. So I have to cancel that idea. Right, so coming back to source of leads, you can surely go for published sources, right? So when I talk about credible websites, I see when I'm doing reviews, there are many people who give reference to Wikipedia references are not credible in that case, right? Knowledge resource centers. Now coming back to that question about approvals, right? So I wrote a few case studies which they were with a different company altogether. I could not get permission from the company because my contact left the company when I completed the case study. So I was having two alternatives. First alternative was to make it disguised case study, right? So that is something I have done. The other alternative I used was I requested another contact in the same industry to allow me to use his or her company name in that case, right? So that is something which has happened with me. The third thing is, yes, you have industry contacts, so you can write a case study on it. It's challenging. It's challenging because of this particular reason that your draft may not be liked by the company. The people you are working with may leave the company, right? But I must say that my last case acceptance is about a case study. I think I finished that case study in a period of around 7 or 10 days. It's about, again, a pharmaceutical company. They had some issues because of COVID pandemic. So they were having, this case study is more about sales targets, whether they should revise the sales targets. And the other perspective is they were thinking about launching this Febiflu salt medicine, right? So we finished it fast. The reviewer, we got only one review with comments like, this is a case with lots of data and this is going to have very good class discussions. No other comment in this case study, right? So now it's in the publication process. So the advantage with the field research cases is, you know, for published source cases, for example, this Philips case study, which I have written with Neha, we have around 100 or 110 references, right? So there, I think 2.5 pages of this case study are actually the references. So when I'm talking about another case study, which is on sales target of a pharmaceutical company, I think I must be having only 12 references. Because in this case, I was just giving a reference of the owner of the company that he said, right? So that is really a little bit fast process. But now you have to look into it, whether you have good connections for field research. Otherwise, in the initial stages, think about going for even published sources. Okay, next part is all about planning of the case study, right? So in this case, you have to select your content area and case topic. So that can be marketing, HR, finance, right? Strategy, anything it can be. But what I would like to request all of you here is, in case you're writing, you felt that, okay, there is a topic which is very good, but you are a finance professor, that case study is having a more of a strategic perspective, get in touch with a colleague from a strategy department, right? Or get in touch with a colleague with another department who is expert in that area, and then you can start writing the case study on it. Because in case you ask me to write a case study on HR, I will simply say no. So I've written a case study with my other colleagues, right, who are expert in those areas, right? So you can always go for a good team in that case. Right, these are my recent cases. So one is on Google acquisition of Fitbit, and it happened in November 2019. Our case study just got published. Right? Lots of things are happening. Second case study is about Kaineer, right? So this is Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. So this brand Kaineer, in case you look at it, is combination of two words. So, okay, I have jumped it, right? So it's Kaineer is the brand name. So kin is from kinner and neer is from water, right? So this case is more about branding strategy and other things. So we're talking about B2B, B2C, right? And social entrepreneurship in this case study. Then I don't know how many people are aware of it, but Amazon has launched Amazon Food, first time in the world, and that too they have done it in Bangalore in India. So this case study I wrote with a professor from Great Lakes. In fact, these two cases, Kaineer and Amazon Food, is with a friend from Great Lakes. Right. The next thing is going to be more about writing the case study. So in this case, the first thing is collect information, right? Now here the important point is, in case you're writing on the basis of published sources, whenever you're taking something from the published sources, please write the the reference at the same time, because it's difficult, it's very difficult to go back and start collecting all those references at a later stage. Write a paragraph, take the reference, and that's how you can go for it. I typically develop a caselet, which is a short case which I develop. I will just show you one example, right, with learning objectives. And then again, try to write a case and teaching notes simultaneously. Why so? Because it should happen like this, that is a disconnect between the case and teaching note. Because students are going to answer the question on the basis of the information. In case you're writing the teaching note on the basis of information which is not there in the case, no, that is not going to be a good teaching note in that case. Right, so I'm just sharing a caselet which I'm developing into a case. Right, so this is how it's a one page, right? So I've already tried it in classes, and I can tell you one thing, that you can have a 3-hour class with this particular one slide on. Right, so this is having, you can use this case study for a pricing dilemma. You can use this case study for customer management. So there are many perspectives which are coming to the picture here. And then I must say that there are lots of calculations which you can do with only this much amount of information. Okay, students can come up with break-even analysis and many other things to understand what this case is all about. Right, so just one page. This is my typical strategy. One page with few questions, and that's all. Right, now coming back to that in the case study, how to write and structure a case. First of all, please write it in a past tense, because you may be writing the case study today, but by the time it gets published, it's already a thing which has happened. Right, so that's the main premise, that case studies are going to be in past tense, unlike the research papers. Right, again, the starting should be identify an issue, right? If that is something which is missing, this is not going to be a good case study. Now, the opening paragraph, right? Very important, right? It is just like your IDA principle of attention, interest, desire, action, right? So opening paragraph has to be good, that in fact, students or the professors who want to use your case study, they get good amount of information from the introductory paragraph itself, right? So who is the main protagonist? Who is the key decision maker? What is the nature of issue or problem? When did the case take place? Specify the deadline, right? Where it happened, right? And why the problem came to the picture. So I'm just taking a few examples here, right? So now this case about Sarva, Cambodia. In this case, you can simply look at the thing is, this in fact is my long introductory part. Otherwise, many of my cases I have only one paragraph, but in this case, there are many things which are happening here. But I can say one thing here, that in case you read the introductory part of this case study, you will know what is going to happen. It's more like an abstract of what is happening in the case, in that case, right? So I've talked about that this company is doing well, but their profitability is coming down because of the Cambodia unit, right? Whereas you can see here that 40% of companies' business is coming from Cambodia thing, right? So that's an issue which is happening here, right? Plus the company is thinking about moving into Myanmar. So in case Cambodia is not doing well, how you can think about going to another country without consolidating in one country. Plus, as I discussed earlier, we are having John Tayam, and you can look at this footnote here, number 4. This case, we have disguised the name. So we have made a footnote that this name is disguised, right? And then there's an offer which the company has got from another company. Right, so whether the company should go ahead with that offer or not. Right. This is Ajanta Packaging. So you can see that company, who are the decision makers here, right? So it is more about Pushpak Agarwal, his son Dipankar, who is coming into the picture. What is happening in that case? Let's look at the para number 2. Have you seen the rate quotation from our biggest client, SF Foods? The company is offering a 50 million order with profit margin of less than 7%. They want to supply by December 1, but have set the payment period 60 days, right? So our key account management needs to be involved. And this is not just the only dilemma here. There's another thing happening here. They also have orders worth 90 million from other customers. and new customers. And these are all high profit products. Now the company doesn't have an inventory of supplying both these parties together, right? So they have all these issues happening. Right? And this case is also about the other things, right? You can look at this paragraph. One cause of concern for the company, however, was its overlaps on SF, which accounted for 15% of Ajanta's business, and 10 other customers who made up almost 50% of the company's total revenue. Now just imagine 11 customers out of 1,700 customers. I give you 50% of your business. So this case is having many perspectives, but all these things they're concerned with only customer management and key account management. So we're not bringing other issues into the picture here. The next thing is all about the body of the case, right? So you have to use chronological order. It always makes sense in that case, right? So you have to cover organization background, when it started, with maybe how much investment, how many employees, right? So you have to get into industry. And then, for example, this Ajanta Packaging case study, we were talking about the customers of the company, right? Please make it sure that you're bringing a neutral perspective here, right? So that people can have, they can think about competing alternatives without getting biased. Now, concluding paragraph again. Many people I've seen when I'm doing the reviews, what they do, they typically copy paste their introductory paragraph into their concluding paragraph, because yes, there is going to be strong similarity between the first part and the last part, right? But in this case, I will say that you can think about bringing some teaching note questions in this case, right? It is surely going to have a linking with the opening paragraph, so you can think about asking the questions you are going to cover up in the teaching note. That can be a good point here. Right, so this is a short, I will say, concluding part of Sarva Cambodia case study. Right, so what are the issues? What are the possible things they need to do? Then this is Ajanta Packaging. Again, just one paragraph covering the major dilemmas. Right, so what can be done in this picture here? Okay, exhibits, right? Exhibits has to come at the end of the case study, right? Not in the case study, because many people who write case studies in the initial stages, they just follow the research paper approach, right? So that is not going to be the thing here. Again, this can have your financial data, historical information, geographical details, some pictures. If you're writing on a hotel, this can have some pictures about the hotel, their interiors, exteriors, everything from that perspective, right? You can have diagrams, right? So exhibits are typically numbered, and you have to note within the case body. So in case you go back to my previous slides here, so in this case, for example, I go to here, right? So you can look at the things here, right? It may be, I have not used, right, see exhibit 1, you can see it here, right? See exhibit 1 when I'm talking about the financials of this company. That's how you typically number the exhibits. Before we move on to the teaching note part, please have this in mind that the case should highlight practical application of theory. That's one of the main premise why we are writing this case study. Again, reflect the ambiguity of the situation, right? The intent here is to create a dialogue, right? Encourage critical thinking, and then it can lead to the evaluation of alternatives and everything like that. Again, collect relevant information from your case organization or public sources, and then it's better you ensure you have correct documentations and citations. Any questions, Sasi, anyone wants to ask before we move on to the teaching note part?
Yes, yeah, so there's one question on teaching notes itself about, do we need to submit teaching notes along with case while submitting to HBR? This is from Mr. Sailesh Pandey. Okay,
Sailesh, first of all, HBR is a different thing altogether. Right. So HBR, they don't have, we're talking about Harvard Business Review magazine. If you're talking about, it's more like an animation story of 3 or 4 pages. right? Around 2,500 words. They don't ask you for teaching notes.
Okay.
But when you're submitting it to Ivey and other places, yes, you have to submit it along with the teaching note.
Yeah, I think so. Say, yeah. So Mr. Sailesh was asking about HBR. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so this is going to be a format for a teaching note. First of all, there has to be a case synopsis. This can be something which is coming from the opening paragraph and the concluding paragraph of the case study, right? Who are going to be the target for this case study, whether BBA students or MBA or executive students, or you want to cover 2-3 different courses come into picture here, right? Clear learning objectives. Then you have to just session time. For example, it's an 80-minute class. How much time you're going to spend on different parts of this case discussions, right? Suggested readings. Again, here, there are many people I see in the review section is that they add 10 to 12 readings here, right? You know, this is all about, the reading should be like this, that you have 5 questions, some of the important articles which you have used in answering those questions, and you can recommend your students to read those articles, right? So my preference is around 4 articles for readings, right? And not like, and please, important point here, just don't superimpose readings for the sake of, because, you know, there's a requirement here. So I have seen case studies where people write readings, but those readings are not used anywhere in the teaching note, right? So it's not going to be like this. Preferably, I prefer that instead of giving long, lengthy journal articles, I typically recommend articles from HBR, right? Sloan management review. So I think you can think about it, but that's how nowadays you can even add some videos, right? At a part of supplemental material, which is again part of suggested readings only, right? And then case discussion, questions and answers, right? So taking note is incomplete if you don't have answers, right? Again, you know, I see some people who submit a teaching note with half a page or 1 paragraph answers, right? It has to be, you know, comprehensive answer, fully developed. And in many cases, all these publishing houses, they do ask what happened, because students want to know what happened, because the case study, for example, had you have written in 2020, right? So you know what has happened after the case study. Many times, yes, I do tell them that this case study is still contemporary. We don't have, nothing new has come from the company after this. The next part is go for a trial. That's again something I strongly recommend. So many times it has happened with me that when I wrote the teaching note, I made some omissions, maybe, or even I missed some of the ideas. But when I try the case study in the classes, my students are smart and they do bring something new, or they do tell me, Prof, there was a missing thing in this case. It would have been better to have this information to answer this particular question, right? And just take all those things as reviews from the publishing editors, right? And then revise the content. So you have written the case study, you have tried it in the class, and you have also done the reviewing now, right? The next thing which you can go for is the review part. What you do here, first of all, citations, right? Please check the citation style of a particular publishing. There are journals, good category journals who go for case study publications, and they typically go for APA style, right? So there are other things who go for Chicago style, right? To look at the guidelines. There are journals or publishing houses, for example, IMT Lausanne, they prefer to have footnotes. Ivey Publishing, they prefer to have endnotes, right? So please follow a strategy of the particular publishing house. Again, I want to emphasize, yes, it's easy to take a reference of wiki, but it doesn't work in that manner, right? Another thing, many people, they simply give a link of the website, right? So I think you have to follow the citation styles. You have to typically go with everything, right? The name of the author, for example, I'm just giving you one example here, right? Name of the author, article, news heading name, where it is published, when it is published, and when you have accessed it, right? So all those things have to be mentioned here. In case you're talking about databases, this is how you have to go for. This is, I'm giving you just example of Ivey and IMT. That's how I use referencing for these two places. Right. Now you have written the case, you have written a teaching note, and now it's time for you to go for the submission process. So what you can do when you're going to for a submission process here, first of all, check submission guidelines. Are you meeting all those requirements? Because many times it happens that people send a particular case to a particular general publishing house and they feel that why you have submitted this case to us, right? It is not going with what we are looking at or what we publish, right? For example, I think we back in 2014, we wrote a case study on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan campaign. We could not get it published because one thing I was new in those days, but the publishing houses were telling to us that who is going to use this case study in a class, right? You are maybe talking about a political initiative, a change management thing, but I agree to that perspective that at least it is not going to be used in most of the business school classes. It was something, yes, which was relevant at that point of time, which was new, contemporary, everything was there. But then it was having too many political things come into discussion. So ultimately we left that case as it is. And that may be one of the case I have not completed in terms of publication process. Otherwise, many of my cases do get rejected, but if not one place, go to another place. That's what I have done. But for that case, we simply left it there. And then sometimes even in case you're writing a case study on a business school, right? Even it's difficult to get it published, right? Because again, who is going to do that case study in a classroom setup? Are you going to discuss about another business school in your class, how they have done something like this, right? So these topics many times they don't work, and also all these good publishing houses, they don't want to be the trumpet for someone else, something in that case. Okay, check for errors is one thing. I will request that please spend money for proofreading and copy editing. Right, this really helps. This really helps. Right, again, no incomplete references. Because what happens in case you're submitting, for example, to Ivey. Right, there are many people nowadays who submit their case studies to Ivey Publishing. This staff is very helpful. Right, I'm always grateful to the way they support. But what happens? There is a rush of case studies, especially from India. So earlier, I still remember, in case I used to submit a case study, I will submit it within 14 days. I will have first reviews within 1.5 months or 2 months. I will have decision in my hand. What's happening now? It takes around 2 months to get a first review. And just imagine, in case in the first review, you're getting an email like this: "Hi Sandeep, this is an incomplete, references are there. I request you to please complete it and resubmit, and then we will send it to a reviewer." So what is happening in that case? You waited for 2 months, and now again, you have to complete the references. But you submit it again, you have to wait for another 2 months. So in this whole case, what is happening that you have delayed things from your side. So better to submit it after 5 days, right? Instead of just rushing that, okay, I want to submit, it's done, let me submit it. Now coming back to that point, in case it's a field-based case, you have to get it signed from the company, right? There are different formats. So you have to, in the initial stages itself, I will say that once you're ready with the first draft, because there's no need for you to share the teaching note with the company. But once you're ready with the first draft, simply give it to your company and they can go for it. They can tell you that whether they're okay with everything, they want to make some changes or whatever it may be. Two common mistakes which I see in many cases is that people typically write it as a research article, right? For example, when they're doing the citations, they will write a statement, and then they will, in the bracket, they will write Sasi Kiran 2020, right? This is not the way we write a case study. That's a style of research papers. Grammatical mistakes, again, are very common. Another thing is taking sides, right? So that's why I'm emphasizing it. You're not going to, direct students toward a particular decision, right? Otherwise, it's not going to generate good discussions also. Not following instructions, especially the author guidelines. As I said earlier, lack of fit. So think about it. Right? So maybe a case study like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan can be published in a journal, right? Maybe in 2014, there were not many journals who were considering case study publication. So we have not considered it, but publishing houses, they may not publish it. Okay. Then many times, yes, whatever you want to discuss in a teaching note, it is not there in the case itself. Or the teaching note is not achieving the learning objectives. I've seen some reviewers, what is happening in the case submissions is that there's someone who has started a case journey. They typically, they just use the tick marks. Okay, in my case study, learning objectives are there. Okay, questions are there. Right. So please don't use them as for the sake of completing it, that okay, it is there, it is there, it is there. Many cases I have seen that they talk about SWOT analysis, Porter 5 forces. I'm lucky, I have used these things in my case studies in 2011, 12, 13, 14, right? In those days, right? In today's world, if you want to get into Porter 5 force analysis, you have to come up with a very good analysis, right? That's something which is missing in many cases. Recently, I was reviewing a case study. In this particular case study, what was happening that it was one page Porter 5 force analysis, only one page, and then nothing was really developed in a good manner, right? So that is something which you people need to look into when you're writing a case study, especially a teaching note, right? So the framework should not be just for the sake of filling in the gaps, right? So it's not like like an item song that, okay, let me have Porter 5 forces, let me have SWOT, or let me have pastel, right? So you have to think about it. I've just shown you the format of my Sarva Cambodia case study. I have not used any framework like Porter or everything from that perspective. We have not done even SWOT analysis for that company. Right? Again, permission from the company, again, very critical. This is one issue which I typically face when I'm working with new authors. Like plagiarism, right? It's very common thing, right? People, they say that I have already given a reference, right? So I think we need to look at the way we write. And I must say that maybe till 2016, my way of thinking about some of the big things were like this, that you copy something from something and then you change 2 or 3 words and you feel that you are out of the plagiarism thing. Right? So I'm happy that my stay with Prof. Kohli, I still remember when I wrote the first case study with him, and he checked it on Turnitin at Georgia Tech, and he said, Sandeep, this particular paragraph is having an issue similarity index issue. So I went back, I changed the things. Then I went back to him, so we spent around 4 hours to just streamline one particular paragraph. And then I think he guided me one particular thing, that Sandeep, instead of copying something from something and then bringing all those changes, just read that particular thing and then write and then give a reference. Now that's what I do nowadays. But in case I'm using something from, maybe in case I'm writing something from a particular framework, I write in my own words, right? And I do give the references that, okay, I got this from this place, but I don't use that system of changing synonyms for 3 or 4 words. But that is something which is quite common. So maybe we need to work on it. Few other common mistakes which happen while writing the case study is you don't have, a teaching note cannot be answered on the basis of information which you provide in the case. So you need to bring new data in the teaching note. Okay, so that is not going to serve the purpose. Again, suggested answers are not supported by the case. You're bringing new, right? That's what I was saying in the initial stages, write teaching note and case simultaneously. Because when you're writing it simultaneously, there will be a, there will be a connection. There will be a good flow happening between the case study and the teaching note. Okay. As I said earlier, applying a model without a purpose, please avoid it, right? Or no sample answers, no analysis, right? So these are typical mistakes people make when they're writing a teaching note, right? So you have to go. I will simply say that please read a few good cases, and you will have everything come into the picture. Now, other important topic is about working together, which is about co-authorship, right? I'm sorry to say like this, but it is a very common thing which I have observed in our country, that people who are senior, or if in case you are a PhD guide, then you typically say you're a student to write your name first, right? Professor Ajay Kohli, when I went to work with him at Georgia Tech, at that time, I think he was having around 35,000 Google citations, highly respected person, right? So when we wrote the first case study, I went to him with the first draft. Because of respect, I wrote his name as the first author, right? He simply said to me, Sandeep, next time when you come to me, I'm going to be the second author, not the first author, right? Because you are leading the case. Okay. I said, okay, maybe he has said something like this as a formality. Next time I went, I have not changed it. I still kept him as the first author. He got a little angry with me. He said, Sandeep, as I said earlier, it's not about respect or seniority here. The simple funda which you should use is whosoever is doing more work should be the first author, and that's how you should follow sequence. And he was very categorical. Next time, for the next draft, in case you come up with my name as the first author, I'm not going to be part of this case study. Right. So I respect him. Then he told me that, Sandeep, look at many of his articles. He said we never care where I am, right? As long as I'm getting a good publication, right? So, but the order of authorship has to be based on the output, on who's doing more work, right? So that's all in that case, right? So I prefer, I think I have written many case studies with my students, because the advantage of students is we don't have egos when it's coming to working with students. But somehow when we're working with our colleagues, that do come into the picture. So my request is that, yes, go for the people you enjoy working with. That will really be more enjoyable in that case. Plus, coming back to this point of, there's a case study which is having a finance perspective and you're a marketing professor. Please take help of your finance colleague, right? It will help your case to become a better case in that case, right? It's not about making someone happy. I think they will bring value to your case in that case. Right? And in addition, I think when you have started writing, you should, in the initial stage itself, you should decide who is going to be the first author, second author, and all those type of things, right? And then who's going to take the role of a corresponding author. Whosoever is going to be the first author should also take responsibility of distributing work. That's how you can go for it. And then I will request, please work on, in the track changes mode, because it happens many times with me that I'm working with a new person. They change the things and I'm unable to see the changes which they have made, right? And it's just like this, that you have to read it again and those type of things. So when you're working in track changes, everyone can see what is being changed. So you're going to be on the same page, right? Simple things, but in case you keep that thing in mind while writing, it is going to be very, very beneficial. Okay, now you have done everything and it's time to submit your case study, right? So what is going to happen? You're going to get these 4 things. if you're lucky, you will get acceptance after your first submission. Right, have a beer. Second thing is, which happens many times, is minor revision. Again, this is a good thing, right? It means it is going to be published. Again, time to have a beer, right? Many times it has happened with me. For example, this Google Fitbit case study, there was a major revision because what we missed when we wrote this case study was we wrote a case study from Google acquisition of Fitbit was the title, but the question which we were asking the case studies were more from the Fitbit's perspective. And then the reviewer told us that no, Fitbit is already being acquired by Google. So I think you need to change the stance here. It's not going to be what Fitbit should do here. It should be more about what Google is going to do here. Right. So it was a major revision, but we are happy with finally it's published now. Right. Yes, rejection. I must say that I'm always proud of it. Between my first HBR publication and my second HBR publications, I had 22 rejections. The only thing was I have not stopped it because I know that HBR is not something which is going to come to your pocket easily, right? That's why it is HBR, right? But I started my career with sales, so I know that anything is not complete unless and until you get the order, right? So it means you have to polish yourself again. So that's what happened. So when you get a rejection, many of my own cases, they got rejected. Then, as I was saying earlier, I look at it, why it is being rejected. And then I work on it and I take care of all those improvement areas and we submit it to another place for publishing, right? It's absolutely fine. Because many times it does happen that, for example, a few cases, the last 2-3 years, I got few rejections from Ivey. They were saying that Sandeep, we already have many cases on the same topic, right? So although your topic is contemporary, it's new, but I think we already have enough of cases on this particular topic, right? So I fully agree with that perspective, right? And I simply went to another place and I got it published. So that's all, nothing wrong in that case. So in case you get a request for revision, you are surely in the publishing cycle, right? Nearly every case is revised at least once, as that's my experience, right? So time to stay calm and work on the comments, right? Please keep one thing in mind. Sometimes the comments can be discouraging, but they are not personal, right? They are just trying to help you to convert it into a better case study. That is the only purpose of the reviewers, right? Reviewers are, they don't have anything personal with you, right? Someone is spending time, right? Someone is spending time to look at your submission, right? So it means they care for you. They care for you. That's why they are giving you some inputs to improvise the things. Right. So this is what I typically do. Right. So I typically thank the editor and I set a deadline. So I mark my co-authors along with it that this is what we're going to do. Sometimes it does happen that you're not going to agree with some of the comments. Nothing wrong in it, right? Someone can have a different outlook at a thing. So you have to tell them that why you're saying something like this, right? So I think in case you can tell them about, they will be okay with it. Many times you may ask to clarify the things because, and then meet the revision deadline. In case you're unable to do so, it can happen, right? We are into this pandemic time. So just tell the editors about the delay. Right? Again, please revise the track changes so that the publishing house or the publishing coordinators, they all can see what you have done. So in case you get rejection, don't worry, right? As I said earlier, I have also got rejections. This can happen with anyone in that case. So you can always try it another source. Right? This is typically the format we use at EIM. Preetha was telling that you also have a case center at Flame. So you people can think about having a format like this. This is just when I'm working with some other professors, we have this one pager at the start of our journey, right? So, and then we start getting to things. Okay, so what I want to say to you people is that you're lucky that, for example, here Flame University has organized this session. I attended my first program for writing case studies after publishing around 15 case studies, right? So, so I was not as lucky as you people are, but that's how things are. Right? So what I want to say to you people is, if you want to write, start it today, right? And you take a responsibility of whether you want to be a case writer or not, right? In my case, I can say with pride that I think almost on a daily basis, I'm working on a particular case or something like this, right? Again, I would like to emphasize, please read, right? Please read case studies of Ivey in case you want to get cases published with Ivey, right? You will understand the process in a much better manner, right? Attending 1 or 2 workshops is good enough, right? Ultimately, it's going to be execution part. And then, in case you want to write case studies on the basis of published sources, primary sources, network, right? Your faculty colleagues, your friends, your industry contacts, your students, they can all be very helpful in writing some very good cases. Then again, if possible, try to find a mentor, right? Sequence doesn't make a difference. So don't worry about the sequence, right? At the end of the day, you're going to get a publication. If you get publications with places like Ivey Publishing, IMT, University of Michigan, you also get royalty payments over a period of time, right? So, and that is going to be equally divided, whether you are first author, you are second author, right? So that is just an icing on the cake, but not the cake in that case, right? I don't write for the purpose of getting a royalty in that case, right? In case I start thinking about royalty, I think my quality may get compromised. This is my last slide. I just want to tell you one thing here. I am from a government school in Punjab. I studied in Punjabi language, right? So during initial days when I was working, it was just like this. I used to think everything in Punjabi, then I used to translate it, and then I used to say it, right? So what I want to say here is that in case someone like me who is coming with a background like this, then you people are in a much better position. Chetna is aware of this. When I was working at IMT Ghaziabad, I was traveling for 5 hours in a day. And in case you know about the location of Delhi and Ghaziabad, my house was in Dwarka, Delhi. So I was traveling 2.5 hours one side. But what I was doing at that point in time was, why I'm having so many cases, I used those 5 hours in writing case studies, right? It was never like this that I try to kill my time. Just 2 days, maybe I'm tired, I will watch a movie, but most of the time, there are people who saw me traveling in metro. Sometimes to me that to metro mein aate ho, apna laptop kholte ho, and then when I reach Vishali metro station in Ghaziabad, I simply shut down my laptop. So that used to be my journey. But I think that's the reason that I'm here. I have colleague from Harvard here. I have colleague from Wharton here, right? So I just consider myself to be a lucky person here. But why this college hired me? Because of my case studies, right? I still remember when I started writing case studies, it was something to not really appreciated in the Indian academic circle. There was no incentive, nothing was there, right? So, and people telling me you're a foolish person, you're writing something which is of no use, but you never know how your passion can help you to come to the next point of your career. So at least in my case, this is my journey, I can say. So see, that's what I feel, that if someone with my background can write something, and I think most of the people who are sitting here, they have a much better background than me. So surely you people can do much better than what I have done so far. So this is my last slide. So thanks again, Preetha. Thanks, Sasi. And thanks to Anju also. So I'm open to questions, and I wish everyone good case publications going forward in their life.
Thank you so much, Professor Puri, for that valuable advice. And I just have another question from Mr. Sailesh. This is more on the lines of the ethics of it, I think. So he's asking, Is it an acceptable idea to publish a case study on a reputed company where a customer has felt cheated with its services or product? So,
okay, first of all, there are many case studies which are already being published. Now, in this case is, for example, it has happened with me also. I think it might have happened with many that few people have booked an air ticket, especially last year in the month of March, thinking that you will travel in the month of May for a marriage in the family. And ultimately there was a COVID lockdown, everything happened, right? So I got my money back from Yatra after around 10 months, that too, after really following up like anything, right? So I have those emails, I have everything with me. At least this is something which is very common, and there are many cases which are available. So now the question common picture here is, in case you can have 5 good questions which you can develop on it, that can be a good case study. But otherwise, so this is something which is very common. That's why I think there's nothing unique in it. We will come up with the answers which are also going to be obvious, that this is the wrong thing, the company should do like this, right? So this is not going to have an 80-minute discussion in the class, right? So that is something which is there.
I think, yeah, so Mr. Sailesh also wanted to collaborate with you. Maybe I think, I think we'll have your contact details shared and maybe you can get in touch with you. Yeah.
Sure.
One other thing that has come up many times is, if the listeners can have links to the papers that they can read, the case studies that they can read. So that is something I want to say, that we will, reach out to you on where are the cases and how they can learn from that.
Okay, so Preeta, I think cases, that's where your library has to come into the picture. At most of business schools, I think when I was working at IMT, or even here, or even when I was at Georgia Tech, we typically have an access to a special set of case studies. So in case, otherwise what you people can do, register yourself with the website of Ivey Publishing, right? So once you register yourself, they will verify your email ID, that whether you're really working in a college or not. But in case, so you can register yourself and you can download the case studies from there. But otherwise, earlier Ivey was having a practice that in case I tell them that, okay, can you send sample case studies to these 5 people? But Ivey has stopped that practice, because what's happening that there are many people, they simply use that sample copy for their case discussion in the classes in that case, which is again a copyright issue. So now that that facility of inspection copy is no longer available.
Right. I had one question myself, Sandeep. This is regarding the kind of, in the beginning you discussed a formula for a case, which starts with the introduction, and then wherein you open the problem and then talk about the industry itself, and then come to the the company's specific issues, and then wrap it up with what should the company do, and so on and so forth. What should the protagonist do? This formula has been in place for a very long time, and Howard, I understand, uses this formula quite frequently. Are there any other ways of writing, or is there any new development in this area where there is any other form of writing which has come across, narration basically of problem?
Okay. Yes, Preeta, what is happening nowadays, in case you look at my HBR case, that case is not at all. I think I can share the link for that particular case. I think all of you can go on the website of HBR. You can download the cases free of cost. The cases which are published with HBR, right? I think they give 3 articles free of cost every month. So that's something which is common. Okay, so what's happening in that case is, Preeta, they are just using animation. So there are also videos, right? So how typically, what they are doing nowadays is there's a case which is published in HBR magazine, and they also develop a 5-minute video on that case, right? So that 5-minute video is basically covering all the aspects. It's not an animated type of a video. It's covering everything which is there in that case study, right? So that is something which people can use. In some cases, for example, IMT Lausanne, what they're doing in that case, many case studies have video interviews. right? So I think in today's world, in case you can have some video interviews included in the case itself, that the protagonist himself is coming up and saying something, so that can be a good thing, right? So now there is, I think there's a company by the name Caser, Caser, right? So they are developing, again, video type case studies where they have, it's more of an online platform that you can click, someone will speak something and then you can read a paragraph and then someone will speak something, right? So those type of things are happening because we're into this online world. So people are developing case studies with more of a simulation type of thing happening there.
Very interesting indeed. Something that we must try and do. Shashi, do you want to take the case, the question from Sangu M as well?
Yes. Just a second. I'm just scrolling up. Just a second. Yeah. So then, towards the beginning of the session, there was a question about is there any difference between case study versus case writings, or is it just the same? That was one question. That was
okay. There are people who do case research, right? That's what I want to say, that case research is a different thing altogether, that you are taking example of 2 or 3 incidences to come to something which is more of a qualitative style of writing a research paper, right? So case study is going to be a different thing than research, which is where you're taking example of some of the cases which have happened, right? So that's what I can say. Otherwise, case study writing is more of a case study writing that I just discussed.
I myself, despite having written so many cases, there are some things that even I kind of learned from you. And while you were on your last slide talking about, your journey, I remember that I first started with an HBR, the Harvard Business Publishing workshop. That was my first sort of inroad into understanding the background and how a teaching note kind of, is in sync with the case itself, etc. After which I wrote my first case, and that's the case that won the Emerald Emerging Markets Case Award. And 17, 18 consecutively 2 years, I won that. So same, it kind of brought back those memories when you were talking about your journey, saying that yes, even without any background, with 1 or 2 workshops and some good mentors in place, it is really possible to, bring the story out in the market. That not only helps us to understand those companies better, but is also a great teaching aid in classrooms.
Yes, Preeta, I think congratulations first of all for getting that award. But I think you have to keep one thing in mind, that if someone can do it, others can surely do it, right? Ultimately, nothing special is. I think we all have 2 eyes, 1 nose, but 2 ears, right? So that's what is there. It's all about starting the things and then taking to the next level.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
okay. I'm just seeing if there are any more questions. Okay. There's one more question from Mr. Sangu M. Is there a difference between a case study and a simulation study?
Okay, simulation studies can also be quite similar with case discussions, right? But the thing is, simulation is going to be everything which is, you have to use some online platforms, right? But case study can be an offline activity you can do in your class, or you can have, simulation is going to be more of, it all depends whether you're going to have it a group activity or an individual activity. But I think both the things are available in today's world. So that's what I was saying. There's a company by the name Casers. They develop simulations on the basis of case studies, right? So in fact, they've offered me that if in case I can convert some of my cases into simulation itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. I think we are at the end of our time slot also that we have grabbed out of Sir's very, very busy day, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sasi. If you would like to wrap up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Firstly, I would like to thank Professor Puri for taking out time from his busy schedule. And also one really good thing that I really admired about his presentation was that there's a lot of attention to detail. going to each and every point at every stage of the process. So that was really, really great, sir. And so we hope that this association doesn't end here and it continues with, further, maybe in the coming days with Flame University.